Well, folks, it looks like RFK Jr. was right. Eating McDonald's really will kill you. The suspected assassin was reported by a McDonald's employee who says he recognized him from the previous photo released by the NYPD. +0? Ah, well, you know. They might not give him the chair. Class traitor? Yeah, no kidding, right? Don't you know? You're under the same boot. Well, actually, they're not under the same boot. It turns out that the suspected... I say suspected, but he was caught with a pistol, a silencer, multiple fake IDs. You know, so I say suspected, but suspected with an asterisk here. You know, it seems likely. Yeah, he's not... he's a class traitor. What's that quote? You know, you and I are different. You are from the privileged class, whereas I am a member of the proletariat. Ah, yes, but there is one similarity between us. We are both class traitors. You get me. His family's super rich. He went to a private school. It's pretty funny. Look at that big old thing. Why was he mad about getting his claim denied then? I don't know if he had a claim denied. Apparently he had a grandmother who had prolonged contact with the healthcare industry, and I saw a photo circulating which might suggest he has back plates, which I don't know if that's real or not. You know how it is. It's within the first hour or two of a suspect getting caught. So right now people are making fake accounts online to try to like reap attention. You know what I mean? Like people will see, oh, he's called Luigi such and such. I'm going to make a YouTube channel that's with that name, or change my existing YouTube channel to have that name, and then pretend that I'm the guy and, you know, drive intrigue or sell a product or whatever. You get me.
Morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania, members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male on firearms charges.
Discrimination.
At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan. The suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport.
Why in the world would he not have dumped a pistol? It looks like he had a mental break at some point. He has multiple active social media accounts, but it looks like he went dark sometime at the beginning of the year. Stopped posting to them. Got a lot of people worried about him. He kind of went off the grid, and this is how they're finding him again. He like disappeared, and this is how he reemerges.
Further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person, as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID, matching the ID our suspect used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident. Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset.
Get a manifesto.
NYPD detectives are en route to Pennsylvania as we seek to interview the subject further. This apprehension is thanks to the tireless work of the greatest detectives in the world, and of course, the strong relationships we have with our local law enforcement partners on every level, local, state, and federal.
Apparently, the police did like literally nothing. Like the police did their manhunt and got no useful information, and the call from McDonald's was just out of the blue for them.
We all serve the same public safety mission. And this case, which captured the attention of an entire nation, is another example of how connected we are and how important it is to work together, share information, and pursue every lead.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of coverage on this.
Chilling words written in a suspected manifesto found on the man arrested in connection with the killing of the CEO of United Healthcare. It had to be done. Law enforcement source says that
I'm a boomer.
Chilling words written in a It had to be done.
There we go.
Chilling words written in a suspected manifesto found on the man arrested in connection with the killing of the CEO of United Healthcare. Law enforcement source says that the author of that manifesto apologized for any strife or trauma.
Very distinctive eyebrows. I think the lesson here is like, if you're going to commit a crime where the upper half of your face is going to be exposed for the closed caption, surveillance footage, you might want to do something to your eyebrows first, like shave them and get fake ones, or get them threaded, or something like that,
But wrote, quote, these parasites had it coming. This is all potentially significant evidence as officers try to get to a motive. And the idea that this person was arrested with a gun similar to that used in the shooting, as well as a face mask resembling the one seen on video footage from New York, and a fake ID similar to that used to check into a hostel in New York by the gunman, raises the question, was this someone who expected or even wanted to get caught?
I mean, the fact that he still had his firearms on him multiple days afterwards gives me the idea that he probably didn't have much of a plan. People were acting like this guy was some kind of criminal mastermind, but the God's honest truth is just that cops are really bad at doing their jobs. Like, literally, like, mathematically, we know this for a fact. They do not catch a lot of people who commit crimes. Most of the time when people commit crimes and get caught, it's because it's some like obvious public altercation or whatever, or the person committing it is not mentally well, so they don't do anything. Like they just do a crime and they're just there and the cops show up, or there's some like active chase or whatever. Like, but in situations where it's premeditated and then the guy who committed the crime just dips, like oftentimes cops don't. And to be fair, I don't know how much cops can really do about that, because in a modern society, it's actually really, really difficult to, like, there are so many people in New York City, you can just kind of disappear. Not a high trust situation, What do you think the odds are his jury declares him not guilty? Basically 0, because juries are made up of real people and not Twitter users on the left or center. Also, he did objectively commit the crime, so they would have to engage in jury nullification, which would be unlikely. We've all seen the CGP Grey video, but it's not going to happen. I promise you the district attorney is not going to allow jurors who are going to nullify the decision. Do you think he'll commit suicide? Are you suggesting that the deep state would assassinate him? And if so, why on earth would they do that? Oh, you mean like the cops beat him to death? Maybe. That could happen, yeah. But they, for the most part, they don't do that with like very high profile suspects, right? He's like a wealthy white guy. Probably not, If he was like some homeless guy who made trouble for the police, maybe. But, he didn't kill a cop. Yeah, he didn't kill a cop. It seems he had a mental break of some sort 6 months ago and went off the grid until now. Yeah, I saw this as well. It seems like, yeah. Hey, are you okay? Nobody has heard from you in months. Apparently your family's looking for you, thinking of you, prayers every day in your name, knowing you are missed and loved. Hey man, I need you to call me. I don't know if you're okay or just in a super isolated place and have no service. Yeah, it seems like he had a mental break, went off the grid, and this is how he popped back onto the grid, in the form of an extremely publicized murder of a health insurance CEO. So, at least his family and friends know where he is now. You guys see this, by the way? Apparently, God, I don't know how real this is, but I'm going to talk about it as though I know it's real. What I do know is that there's been an effort in the healthcare industry for a lot of executives to remove public information about, like, there have been Wikipedia pages that have been flagged, like on, hey, here's the name of the CEO of, Blue Cross Blue Shield, yoink, or whatever, and like try to delist on LinkedIn or whatever, which is really dumb, because you can always find out who a CEO is. It's listed in legal documents. And I've seen some job postings for like security for executives, which is really, really funny. I don't know if this is real. I want to believe that it is. This is the safety and solidarity pledge for like security for a healthcare executive. I insert your name here, pledge to uphold the safety and well-being of my colleagues and the blank family as a whole. I commit to recognizing the health insurance industry and its vendors as an indispensable pillar of the American healthcare system. Acknowledging the vital role of executives as the organization's key drivers of success and as exemplars of leadership and professionalism. Is it real? I have no idea. I find it incredibly funny anyway. They have to make sure, like, their security guards can't be like men on the inside. They have to be bootlickers, It's really funny. It's funny to imagine. Is this one in particular just for everyone? Dear team, in light of recent events, several employees have reached out to express concerns about safety. To reinforce our shared commitment, everyone needs to sign this. Oh, this is supposed to be for everyone. So you're just like a low-level pencil pusher at, Anthem or whatever. And they're like, here, I hereby swear that I think health insurance CEOs are the greatest contributors to the American economy and the well-being of the American people imaginable, or whatever. It's pretty funny. I'm sure it'll work. I'm sure being forced to sign a bootlicking pledge won't, like, incite antagonism from some of the less mentally stable people. I'm pretty sure Ken Klippenstein is the one who obtained it, so it's probably real. Is that true? Was he the original source for that? Because if so, that means it's true. Yeah, he actually does, like, disclosure stuff like that. I'm looking through his timeline. Amazon and BlackRock simultaneously posting executive protection fee p-rolls. Is it true Mignone had a back surgery? Maybe, I don't know. A lot of fake news out there. A lot of fake news. Doesn't really matter too much. I want to know what the manifesto says.
John, you have some new details about specific lines that you can quote from this 2-page handwritten document that was found on Luigi Mangione's person. What was he writing about?
Well, he was railing against the health.
Ted Cruz posted this. Leftism is a mental disease. Oh, by the way, the guy's not a leftist, obviously. If he was a communist, he wouldn't have done anything. He would have, like, complained. He would have tweeted this if he was a leftist. He was like some tech bro center right type. I've seen a bunch of people posting, like, I've seen people posting a bunch of shit. Apparently, he's an avid reader. He's read quite a bit of stuff. He apparently posted some, like, gender war stuff. Like, not incel necessarily, but like men and women both live in society, we have to get along, kind of. He doesn't seem especially left-wing or right-wing. Like, he just seems kind of like a privileged tech bro, sort of, you know? He seems very intelligent. I mean, at the very least, he reads and engages in a lot of media critique, which I would, you know, based on that, I'd say he certainly seems to be, you know, engaged. He reviewed the Unabomber's manifesto. Whom amongst us? How to Change Your Mind, the New Science of Psychedelics. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think this guy listened to Joe Rogan. He was concerned about birth rates in Japan. Modern Japanese urban environment is an evolutionary mismatch for the human animal. Oh yeah, he's a tech bro. Oh my god, they have such a distinct, I say with like hatred in my voice, way of writing. The solution to falling birth rates, isn't immigration, it's cultural. Encourage natural human interaction, sex, physical fitness, and spirituality. I mean, apart from the spirituality part, I think the first three are correct. Ban Tenga flashlights and Japan real whole custom porn star pocket pussies being sold in Don Quixote grocery stores. I think this guy had a particular experience. Yeah, what the f***? This guy's going after onaholes? That's a little bit sexist. He's like, man, if people have fake pussy, they're not going to go after real pussy. I don't know. I feel like there's still incentive for real pussy out there. Replace conveyor belt sushi and restaurant vending machine ordering with actual human interaction with the waiter. Replace conveyor belt sushi? That's practically like, that's like a cultural, that's like a touchstone. That's like a treasure of Japan. You can't get rid of that. Replace 24/7 esports cafes where young males earn false fitness signals via Tekken fighting and Overwatch shooting games with athletics in school. This is really funny because this genuinely feels like a segment that I would do, but like dark mode. You know what I mean? Like this feels like one of my, like, you need to get out there and interact with real human beings. AI slop is driving like alienation, so on and so forth, but without the underlying class analysis. You know what I mean? Like it's the surface level points, but kind of like randomly directed rather than being framed through a coherent ideology. Heavily stigmatized maid cafes where lonely salarymen pay young girls to dress as anime characters and perform anime dances for them. And we're right back to it being a segment of mine. That's true. Maid cafes are creepy as f***. Westerners will say otherwise because their imagination of a maid cafe is something they saw at like Comic-Con once or like what they see in the anime. In reality, it literally is like 55-year-old salarymen who are divorced going there so an 18-year-old still in high school girl can do like a skirt twirl, and then when she brings out the crepe that he's going to have at 4:30 p.m., he's like, can you do the dance? And then she has to do the dance or she'll be fired, and then she won't be able to afford rent. So Hooters? No, it's Hooters mixed with the Japanese's, or the Japanese's like insane commitment to customer service. It would be like Hooters where if you look the girls in the eyes and said like, jerk me off, they would have to or get fired. Basically, it's pretty apparently he's ripped. Oh yeah, dude's jacked. Compare and contrast this versus the Pig Boy Rittenhouse. He's really hot, not gonna lie. Do you think you're being brave when you say that? Like you see an objectively attractive guy who looks like a model and you're like, I'm not going to lie, bro, hear me out, everyone. Hear me out, okay? I've got a crazy one for you. Revitalize traditional Japanese culture, Shintoism, Okinawan karate, onsen, etc. Dude, he's like a traditional weeb. That's really funny. I know what's going to raise the birth rates in Japan. Shintoism. If more people are leaving, like, you know, incense offerings at shrines next to their hills and rivers, maybe that will, okay. 10,000% fash stuff. I don't really think so. I think that this is ideologically incoherent. That's what I think. I think that a lot of this is like, this could lean either way. You could take like 99% of this and make it leftism. You could take 99% of this and make it fascism. I think it's ideologically incoherent. This right here is average voter territory. You know, I don't even think this is schizo shit. I think this is just like the kind of stuff that a person would think if they didn't have a strong ideological grounding for the beliefs and feelings they have. Being concerned about like an insanely low birth rate in Japan isn't fast shit necessarily. It's a bad thing. It's like actually a bad thing. Thinking that like the over availability of pornography and like lazy people stuff or what, you know, like gaming culture as opposed to people actually like meeting each other in real life. Like that's normal things to talk about, you know. You can kind of lean it either way. Mosh, quote, I hate sexual degeneracy. He didn't say I hate sexual degeneracy. You're projecting that onto him. That's the point of incoherence. Like that's the whole reason. You can take these points and like lure them in either direction. I oppose migration. He's not saying he opposes migration. He's just saying that Japan's low birth rate is a problem even if they have immigration, which is true. Like if you have like a 0.8 birth rate or something, that's still a problem even if you bring immigrants in. Like that indicates a very, very low level of social trust and human connection in your society. You know, I think you're like constructing, you're putting a box around him, okay? And he's going to be in jail for a long time, so he has enough time in a box, you know? He's going to be in there for a while. That's all I'm saying.
Healthcare industry, which of course fits into the scenario here. He talks about how these parasites had it coming. He starts off basically saying, I don't want to cause any trauma, but it had to be done. So the second page really kind of goes into problems with the health industry. He raises the question.
Yeah, I saw what he said about the Unabomber's manifesto. The problem with the Unabomber is that she's cringe. The Unabomber's prescriptions are actually really, really, really stupid. Like, they're not actually an anarchist. I said she because there's a joke. Not really a joke. The Unabomber is 100%, or was 100% a egg. The Unabomber's insane. He was transitioning would have saved her. Yeah, for sure. It wasn't actual like principled anarchist critique. It was like fascist, anarcho-primitive, not even anarcho, just like primitivist fascist nativism, you know? Wait, the Unabomber's translate. Just Google Unabomber trans. You'll get the meme.
You know, why do we have the most expensive healthcare in the world, but we're 42, rated 42 in life expectancy around the world?
Good question.
I can't vet his facts or findings there, but it was talking about the healthcare industry and the need for violence. I mean, especially when you talk about, you know, the opening, which is that it had to be done. These parasites, you know, had it coming. That does kind of fit in what they're talking about. What do we know about this individual? Mr. Mangione is an engineer. He grew up in Towson, Maryland. He's 26 years old. He graduated UPenn in 2020 and then went on to a master's program where he got that master's degree in engineering. And he has addresses, as Shimon said, in Towson, where he grew up, in Philadelphia, where he went to school, in Honolulu, which we're still looking into. But he is strongly believed to be the suspect in this case.
It's literally Ivy League. To give you an idea of how wealthy his family is, apparently people were unable to access his parents' mansion because they had private security posted at the front gate.
Incredibly interesting. And it also speaks to the fact that he just had, Josh Campbell, you're with us now, so much on his person, according to police, from a suppressor to, they're saying it's the fake ID they believe that he used at the hostel, the New Jersey fake ID, when he was in New York. And then this manifesto talking about why he did this. I mean, that tells you a lot about his maybe expectation that ultimately this was all going to catch up with him, even as he tried to get away.
Yeah, you're spot on. And, you know, sometimes...
Wait, is his Twitter blocked? It's yeah, as Thane has said, it's pretty common for the accounts of very infamous people to be deleted, locked, banned, hidden, whatever else. There's just a lot of, it's just generally speaking, think of it from the perspective of like a social media company, like Goodreads, for example. Goodreads has gotten rid of his Goodreads account. You can only access it via the archive. And the reason for that is probably because Goodreads doesn't want the most famous screenshots of its website to be associated with appraisal of the Unabomber's manifesto from a person who killed a CEO. Like it's literally, it's not a conspiracy thing. It's literally just like they don't want their hands on it, you know?
Times these major incidents that start with a bang end with a whimper. We didn't see a dramatic, police takedown. What we saw is someone eating at a McDonald's who then had the police called on him and apparently taken into custody without incident.
Narc.
And, it's so interesting. John and I have been covering this. There was this consensus in looking at that initial surveillance video from outside that hotel that police weren't dealing with Carlos the Jackal here. I mean, you look at everything from his stance in holding that gun to the type of gun itself to the mistakes that he had made, apparently leaving behind a water bottle and a burner phone. And so this was a sophisticated job in the sense that it appeared to be planned and then executed, and then he was able to successfully flee and, escape.
Man, I gotta say, he's really serving in the mugshot. I guess this is a screenshot some idiot at ABC News took of a different source rather than a direct grab. I love the fact that they didn't move the mouse cursor away from the image. Yeah. Hidden with the assassin stare, when you say something so pro corporate healthcare that you just got to hit him with the I killed Brian Thompson stare. He has been mewing. Maybe that's why he didn't have time to throw away his gun silencer and the fake IDs, like before getting arrested, He was too busy in the mirror of the McDonald's bathroom, doing the whole rigmarole. He's a social Darwinist. That's super, super common for tech bros, yeah. It's tech bros, like a shocking number of them basically believe in like eugenics and scientific racism, but like boiled down for modern consumption from people who don't think they're racist. But it's really common. What the fuck is this guy talking about? Art, architecture. Tucker is spot on in recognizing that Tucker Carlson, I assume, in recognizing that modern architecture kills the spirit, but his very first line, postmodern architecture is designed to demoralize and hurt you, paints the phenomenon as intentional. In the same way that inflation is not intelligently designed to oppress people, neither is modern architecture. It's emergent. Yes, it is oppressive, but that's a fallout of selective pressures to build fast, cheap, irrespective of aesthetics. Oh, this is a pretty normal opinion to have. This is not a fascist opinion. It's largely true, except he's misusing postmodernism, but everyone does, so, My point here is that even when people have brilliant insights, they often blatantly get the causation wrong. Modern equivalent of this drought/famine is caused by the rain gods because causation gives people comfort, because the idea that the phenomenon are a result of amorphous systems outside our control is scary. It seems pretty intelligent. Again, he's just missing that little extra spice, that little bit of like ideological, that little extra, je ne sais quoi, to really pump up his ideology. This is why Jordan Peterson always bothers me, overcomplicates everything he says aloud, wastes everyone's mental bandwidth and having to decipher it. The best teachers are the best communicators, clear, succinct, simple language. I mean, that is true. Have you seen Jordan Peterson in his lectures, like not in the culture war, brain rot, post-induced coma in Russia bullshit? It is true. Even back when he was considered a somewhat legitimate academic. That's true. It seems like he's a STEM intellectual type who just never got like the grounding to develop a coherent ideology, but it doesn't seem like he's a dumb guy. He doesn't seem hateful. I mean, he hated Brian Thompson, I can tell you that much, but just joined the stream. Did you happen to see the YouTube video from his channel before it was taken down? I'd give you anything. I'd tell you anything. No way that YouTube channel is real. It was made only a year ago. It posts a video. It changed its name and image right beforehand. I'd tell you that one's fake. People love doing that shit, you know, whenever there's big news, like some crypto drop or whatever. People just like attention. Fitness enhancing benefits for plebs. At a fast skim, his paper is really more about how Christianity was better positioned to yield answers in late imperial Rome than paganism, and smacks faintly of unquestioned assumptions about the history of early Christianity. Yeah, this guy doesn't seem fascist at all. Context social Darwinist reading looks like elaborate justification for making generalizing statements about groups of people versus each other. What do you mean you don't believe depression has a genetic component? The issue with this guy is he's discounting nurture so hard he's voluntarily ending his own bloodline. I'm telling you, man, I feel like this guy's like 99% on a lot of his analysis. In case there's any doubt, here he is arguing human behavior is evolved. Isn't it? I don't understand what the accusation is. No, whatever.
Arrest for several days. But when you look at all of that material with him on his person, whenever he is actually...
Fix 300 UI bugs for Civilization 6. Sorry, I only respect Civilization 4. Next try. Or nice try, Luigi. Better luck next time.
Actually taken into custody, someone who had the wherewithal to plan all of this and then to escape, several law enforcement agencies would have had to have known that having all of that on his person would implicate him in this crime. As you mentioned, you have the fake ID, an ID that was matching the fake ID he used to check in.
What's the thing he's missing? Is it just that he's not explicitly talking about class? He did literally kill a CEO. Yeah, he did. But yeah, no, he's not talking about class. That's it. It's historical materialism. Class consciousness, the answer to his questions, the unifying force that could explain, well, again, he seems to be having a mental health bender, so, you know, the mind is what the mind is. But when it comes to what he's talking about, the questions he's discussing before, you know, that would be, he seems pretty conscious of class, lol. No? Class consciousness doesn't just mean, like, you think a CEO you over. There has to be, like, a broader systemic analysis. At least, nothing he's written that I've seen indicates that, but you know, it's not a leftist. He quoted Dunkey in his high school yearbook. Am I skimming over it super quickly? Next to his face. Oh, another day, another play. We're gonna get a good video out of this.
To that hostel, you have the mask that he had that was on these images that have been seen now around the world.
Why does CNN
and specifically
do this? Why are
the
you
firearm itself. All of those items could have been ditched along the way as he was trying to escape, but he had them on his person. Of course, you know, we can get into the firearms forensics if you'd like to see.
Yeah, Luigi when his healthcare claim gets denied. Nitpicking and biased. Bye-bye.
You know, how that would actually play a key role here. But when you look finally at the manifesto, that you have to raise the question, is this someone who expected to be caught and didn't, you know, mind being caught eventually, particularly if he is someone who was railing against the industry in which this murder victim had worked, to have all that material on you and then to have essentially the motive, you know, laying out the motive in these documents for police to find. Everyone, you know, any good attorney will tell you that the best way to escape any type of serious charge such as murder is to create reasonable doubt, to have no evidence on your person, to try to fight every accusation that comes your way. That much harder when you have all of that with you as you're taken into custody.
Yeah, certainly an intriguing point why he would have that kind of note on him. It speaks to some form of premeditation, at least. Josh Campbell,
yeah,
thank you for that. We also have with us Michael Alcazar, a retired NYPD detective, and on Friday, you talked about how critical DNA evidence would be not necessarily in identifying a suspect, but tying them to the crime. And in hearing about some of these details, specifically about the water bottle that was left behind and a partial fingerprint that was on that water bottle.
Did you see that they didn't know who it was until it was called in? Yeah, I did see. Yeah, this is incredibly funny. Eric Adams says the New York City Police Department has a name, but are withholding it to keep it a secret. And then after he got caught, the New York City Police Department said they didn't have his name in a list of suspects. So Eric Adams is just Eric Adams playing like it's funny they'd release that and like contradict him, you know. Cops like Eric Adams because he's really corrupt like them. Do you think he wanted to get caught because he saw how literally everyone loves him? Well, it seems like he was having a mental break anyway, so maybe he thought there was no going back, or maybe he just wasn't in a good state and didn't really plan things out. It's hard to say. Didn't Eric step down a while ago? Am I tripping? You know, if we lived in a good country, maybe, but in the world that we live in, you can actually be insanely corrupt and unpopular and just stay.
I'm curious, how significant a piece of evidence would that be in a future prosecution?
Yeah, this is absolutely huge that we have this suspect and then we process the crime scene, as best to the ability of the NYPD. We got DNA, we got fingerprints, we have the ammunition. So now hopefully we can link all that to the suspect. We are going to get DNA from him.
It's so huge that he's hot. Yeah, it's by far the most important part of the entire case, really.
Get fingerprints off of him. The weapon, like the other person mentioned before, we can link it to the bullets because usually the barrel will have rifling. I know this is a ghost gun. Hopefully it still produces the same marks on the ammunition. So crime scene processing, the images that we put out, the Crime Stoppers tips, that's what helped solve this crime and make this arrest.
And John Miller, back to you. We're talking about why does he have all of this potential evidence on him, so much of it, but I guess there's also a question of what was the intent of the letter. In some crimes, you have people who send in their manifesto with the expectation they may or may not get caught. Do you have an idea perhaps what the intent could be looking at cases like that?
Brianna, that's a really important question, and here's why. When you look at the note, I do apologize for any strife or trauma, but it had
Yeah, you can get a good read of his ideological failures. I saw this on Twitter. One of Mangione's favorite books, judging by his glowing review, was a diagnosis called What's Our Problem? A Self-Help Book for Societies by blogger Tim Urban. The author said in his description of the book that it eschews, quote, the usual left, center, right, horizontal political axis in favor of, quote, a vertical axis that explores how we think and as individuals and groups. This is like a classic tech bro, I studied engineering but not humanities approach, where you eschew the value of pre-existing philosophy and social sciences in favor of I just walked in and I have some great ideas on how this should all be run kind of thing. Because STEM bros are constantly consuming propaganda about how they should be efficiently optimizing their mental processes by waking up at exactly this time, and then they have the oats, and then they do this and make sure to take a micro nap at 9:32 a.m. every day to boost they get a lot of self-help bullshit. They get a lot of basically horoscopes but for men. They get a lot of messaging on self-improvement that has very little to do with sociability and a lot to do with, if you have problems in your life, here's the specific kind of nutrient that can help. Here's the superfood that will fix you. And as a consequence of that, they often ignored legitimate political divides in favor of, you have can-doers and won't-doers, basically. You know what I mean. You all know the type, right? You all understand what I'm talking about? You have kind of a mental model. You have a map for what I'm talking about here? Yeah.
Be done. These parasites had it coming. This is a single homicide we're looking at. Parasites is in the plural. And the note itself, where he says, I acted alone, I'm self-funded, it suggests two potential things here. Number one, he was expecting to be caught somehow, somewhere, and wanted the note to say, I acted alone, this was just me, and here's the why. Or the other, even darker possibility, which is he intended to keep striking and at some point was going to release this note after he killed executives from other healthcare companies or other major corporations. We've looked at some of his other writings going back to the past on his social media and things he's posted, and he does rail against corporate America, against profiteering, against taking advantage of the consumer, and he does talk about how protest is ineffective and that violence is the next step that has to be taken. So a lot to kind of chew on there while they put together the charges,
big ideas,
as Shimon said, and others get together the physical and forensic evidence that may tie him to this New York murder.
Josh Campbell, back to you, because Michael brought up something I found interesting. Obviously, in a lot of cases, experts will look at a firearm and doing an analysis of the sort of grooves that are on the bullet, the impression that is left on a bullet, and it helps to tie, obviously, guns to certain incidents. I wonder how that might change, given that this is a ghost gun that officials believe was potentially printed by a 3D printer.
He believes porn should be heavily regulated. Classic tech bro belief, 100%. Right up there. Probably did NoFap. Porn should be regulated no less than alcohol, cigarettes, and travel. Classic.
Well, so the ghost gun aspect would make it more difficult to try to tie it to past crimes. And we know that the bullet shell casings obviously recovered from the scene of the crime. That could be tested. The fact that we didn't hear of any matches to past crimes tells us that, this is something that he may have, procured maybe recently. Maybe he put it together himself. And maybe he's never used it before in the commission of a crime that was known to law enforcement. But it is still a critical piece of evidence because, as you mentioned, when you look at firearm testing, it's very much like a fingerprint. Whenever a projectile leaves the end of that gun, there are unique markings. You can see here, these are images of when I went inside the ATF lab.
This is what he meant. This is why he wanted to ban the Ona hole. And now that they've caught him, they're using it against him. It's insane.
Hey, I'm Hallie, and we are coming on the air just seconds away from the arraignment, apparently, in western Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, for the so-called person of...
People getting muted for committing the shooter? Yeah, of course, because we abhor violence here. And you will be muted for defending the shooter.
Interest in that CEO killing. You see him there. This is the first image that we're getting of Luigi Mangione. Look at this. Our teams outside court just got this. So this is him walking in, ready to be arraigned. Taking a moment here, the first time that we are seeing this person since that 5 or 6 day manhunt ended after that shocking targeted killing of Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan last week. The CEO of United Healthcare, Luigi Mangione, 26 years old, a Penn grad, somebody who had potentially, he certainly was found at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Just gonna loop this, keep him.
He was found, police say, by an employee who recognized him, who called police saying that he was acting suspicious. And police found a number of items, they say, in Altoona on his...
It does make... Apparently, it was like a boomer McDonald's employee. And if I were to think of, like, what poor person would be most likely to hate other poor people and to be, like, cringe, it would be a boomer employee of McDonald's, you know? Like the kind of person who would run it, like a drill sergeant would run their barracks.
Person in his backpack with him. They found this, the so-called ghost gun, police say, that may have been created using a 3D printer. We don't know who actually created it. Police say it's consistent with the one used to kill Thompson. They found a 3-page handwritten manifesto showing Mangione had what they call ill will toward corporate America. They found multiple fake IDs, including this one from New Jersey with the name Mark Rosario on it. Obviously a fake name, according to police.
Maybe.
Investigators right now are digging into whatever they can online, including, and this is some new reporting here from NBC News, as you take a look at this image here. This is, of course, Wednesday in New York City in Midtown, the day the shooting happened. Investigators are, we understand, now looking at an online post, including a picture he put up of an X-ray of a person's back with screws in it to see if that is related to all of this.
Why do none of these people ever like, oh, I'm going to commit a crime that will get recorded by surveillance footage? I'm going to put on like a full, gigantic, baggy sack. Like I'm going to wrap myself head to toe in garbage bags and I'm going to wear heels. Like, I'm going to wear heels, but then also stoop so I look shorter. And I'm going to be like a big, like, just shifting amorphous blob of garbage bags. And then you get out and you run around a corner and kablamo. No one will ever, a 5'11" white guy, how would they know? I'm always saying this. Yeah.
To see if that was Mangione's back, or relatives, for example. That's
or a silicone face mask. Yeah, that we were seeing blueprints of this in Mission Impossible. Why do we never get the Mission Impossible blueprint face mask that they peel off to reveal it was someone else?
To 2 senior law enforcement officials. Why does that matter? Because it may be another clue, potentially, on any motive here. Stephanie Gosk is live for us in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Tom Winter, Danny Savalos are with us as well. Steph, let me start with you here. That first look, of course, at this so-called person of interest. Talk us through. Arraignments are typically very quick, right? Any expectation that this is going to be any different?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, it's really important to say that he has been arrested on unrelated gun charges. He has not been charged yet in the murder of CEO Brian Thompson. But as you can see, he's being walked into the courthouse for an arraignment. It's unclear whether he's going to plead yet in this moment. Maybe he does. That's what we're waiting to find out. His day ending very differently than how it started.
This is him in the holding cell. This can't be real. This looks so fake. Pop bass? Is this real? This can't be real. He's not even casting a shadow. There's no way. Why is he so stanced up? It doesn't look like AI. It just looks photoshopped. We found the motive. Oh, you had to go way back for this one. 2010. No, one of my fishies got sucked into the filter. Frowny face. Do you think that was a United Healthcare filter? The McDonald's the alleged shooter was arrested as currently being review bombed on Google. Well, there's no denying that Luigi has, if nothing else, won the ideological battle. You know, I mean, it certainly with regard to the hearts and minds of the people. How does him being mentally ill change the political outcomes of this compared to if he was an otherwise sane ideologue? It's probably better that he was mentally unwell and incoherent, because if he was principally ideologically leftist, it would be used as a legal pretext for a massive crackdown on left-leaning people, which is probably going to happen anyway under the Trump administration. It doesn't really matter because, like, people don't want political analysis. People just want their vindictive hatred of others to be expressed and vindicated through random acts of violence like this. You know,